Guys, were you ever lucky enough to have a job that just didn't feel like work? Leave me some comments. Have you ever had a job like that? And if so, how long did you have it for? I was lucky enough to have mine for 20 years. Yeah, 20 years. If I was still in that job now, I would have never retired. It was kind of a series of jobs over 20 years, but man, like I said, I never would have left. I had so much fun. None of it seemed like work to me. Yes, of course, there were stressful times. But 90% of the time, I was having a great time. So I worked in the music business for 20 years. Throughout that, I had a job in publicity. Another part of my career was new release sales forecasting. Another one was called album sequencing. And the last part was inventory management. That part wasn't so fun, but the other three, yeah, they were amazing. So when I worked there, I worked on albums from Taylor Swift, U2, Lady Gaga, Ray Charles. Oh God, who else do we have? Nirvana, way back in the day. We had so many artists, guys, it just never felt like work. So what did my job consist of? When I was first hired there, I was hired as a publicity assistant. Listen to me, I'm getting all choked up. I need my retirement vodka. When I first got there, I was hired as a publicity assistant. Part of that job was not fun. Phone lines on hold all day long, 4 or 5 people on hold, and you trying to determine for your boss, which was the most important. But I got to meet so many people because publicity was in charge of throwing all the parties at the American Music Awards, Grammys, stuff like that. I got to meet so many people that daytime job was just kind of, I would look forward to what I was doing every night because we would get to go to free shows. We could watch, LA was the heart of music, still is. Any night of the week, we could go see one of our bands because we were a huge company for free. You think I took advantage of that? Yeah, I did. So that lasted about 3-4 years. Then I got into sales forecasting. My job there was to say we had a new release from Eminem coming out. My job was to research how well did he do in sales on his, say, last 2 or 3 albums? How were his competitors doing in sales? What are the trends out now, music-wise? Geographically, where did Eminem sell the best? This was back when they were still doing CDs. Now, I don't know if my job would really be there in the same capacity as it was. So what I did is I would take just gather all the data that I could, and via multiple regression analysis, I would input that data, different variables, spit out a number, and give this to the head of either the head of the record label or the head of sales at the record labels. I worked for the distribution company. We owned all these record labels. So it was my job to give them information. Okay, this is how much Eminem sold out the gate. The first 2 weeks, last time he came out with a release. This is how much his competitors are selling now. This is the state of the industry now. How well are CDs selling? So I would give them, out of the date, just grab a number out of the air. I mean, mine was all analysis, but I'll just grab a number for you guys. We think you should make 500,000 CDs to carry us over the first 2 weeks. Back then, if you sold 300, 400,000 CDs the first week, that was a hit. And for a new Eminem album coming out, yeah, that would still be considered a hit. So I would give them a number. It was up to them, using my analysis, to tell me or to tell our company how many CDs they wanted to make. Because CDs, if you had a title that was just a dud, we had so many stories of CDs, millions of CDs sitting in our warehouse in Pinckneyville, Illinois, doing nothing. The scrap, just the total of the scrap in monetary value was in the millions. So if you got it wrong on how many CDs to make out the gate, yeah, that was a big mistake. On the reverse side, if you gave them a too little of a number, you're sitting there in all this demand with no supply. You talk about getting hammered by these people at the record label. Yeah, So that was so much fun, guys. It was so much fun because I'm dealing with trends. I'm dealing with having to research different artists at different labels to give them a final number. I got to meet so many people that way. It was just unbelievable. And hey, you guys, if you are seeing me for the first time, this is a channel for retiring on moderate income. If you are interested in that, think about subscribing and like the video as well. Another part of my job, album sequencing. What that is, and this got away from the analytical for me. In the beginning, the first 10, 12 years, I wasn't doing this. But luckily, you get to meet people in the company, and I got to meet a lot of people on the production side. So what I would do eventually, after gaining their confidence, just by listening, we would get sample releases before they were actually released to the public, demo tapes of new artists coming out with new music. So by giving them information about what I thought, what I didn't think about the music, after say a year of this, they built up confidence in my musical ear. So I was able to get into album sequencing. What that is when they will give you all the songs are coming out on the album, and they would say, okay, what order do you think these should come out on that actual album? It's pretty cool. So, most of the time with hits, you'd want them to come out in the first couple, 1, 2, 3 songs. Okay. If you had some that were more melodic, there was all this strategy that went into it. You would have a banger, then you'd have melodic. You could have 2 bangers back and forth, 2 melodic, depending on the artist, depending on the genre they were in. Also, what did you expect was going to be your first single, your second single, your third single? So all these variables went into how you had to list them on the album. From 1 to 10, let's say. Usually the 9th, 8th, 9th, 10th tracks, those were the ones where you didn't think it was going to do too much. So that was very cool. I mostly did that for our jazz label, which was called Concord Jazz. That was so much fun because I got to, again, meet some of the artists. We had this Ray Charles compilation CD that came out through Concord just before he passed away. Got to meet Ray Charles. Got to actually see him in the studio. It was so cool. So guys, this is just an idea what my job was. Yes, you had to crunch numbers. You had to do the normal day-to-day stuff. Emails, meet with your boss, meet with other people. But overall, it was so much fun. It was not work. There was no work. Yes, there was work involved, but it didn't feel like work because you knew of what you were working on. Music is an emotional product. That to me is the coolest thing in the world. Someone's happy, they put on music. Someone's sad, they put on music. You too? Are you happy or sad? Oh, okay, you're sad. Sorry. To be able to work at a company that could give that out to the public, an emotional product like that, I couldn't ask for more. So the last part of my job dealt with inventory management. Okay, this was just basically like, meat and potatoes. Okay, you see how many CDs you have in your warehouse, so you can supply the record stores with enough product. Kind of went along with my new release forecasting, but it was more just day to day. Where are we standing? How much is this selling? Where is it selling? Where are the stores that need to get this product? So it was my job for the CDs, cassettes, vinyl. I would handle certain labels. I would have a country label. I would have a jazz label. I could have some labels like Interscope Records, which is mostly alternative rock at the time. The bottom line was you did not want to run out of product in the stores. Okay? If you wanted to get hammered by the record labels, that's how you did it. So the boring part of my job was inventory management. But you put all those together as a whole, guys, I'm telling you, man, I had 3 jobs after I was laid off from my music career, but those 3 jobs, each one of them lasted a year or 2. And do you get spoiled working in entertainment? Yes. I did not like any of my last 3 jobs. Again, they were just basically using the knowledge that I gained in the music industry and applying those principles to, in this case, it was groceries. Okay, I worked at the head office of certain grocery stores for about a year or 2 each. After that, I retired. But those 20 years, man, if I never got laid off, if I had never got laid off from my industry job, from my music industry job, I would still be working there. I would probably be working till I was 70 years old, maybe even longer. So the moral of this video is, if you have a job that you love, don't retire, guys. Don't retire. Yes, you can still have stuff to do in retirement that'll keep you happy. But if it's a job not that you like, not that you even, kind of like, you got to love it. If you love it and you are happy doing the job that you are in, let's say you're 63, keep working. If you're 67, keep working. I'm telling you, retirement is great, but there is something to be said for having all the socialization, for still working with your mind when you're, say, 69 years old in a job crunching numbers. There's a lot to be said for that, for longevity. So, bottom line, if you are in a job you love, guys, don't ever leave. Work as long as you can. That's all I got today from the windy high desert. We got this.